Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, and today I am bringing you a very quick spoiler review on the very first 3 episodes of Marvel's What If, the new animated series starting streaming on Disney Plus tomorrow. We've been very fortunate to get sent a copy of this, and we were able to watch the first 3 episodes, as I mentioned. And this is a show that it's going to be a little bit different to the other ones. Of course, we've just had Loki, we've had, I keep saying Captain America's Falcon and Winter Soldier, and of course, we had WandaVision at the start of the year. And what I want to quickly mention for this series, we won't be doing weekly discussions. When it's done and dusted, 9 episodes total, we're going to come on, we're going to do a big discussion on it instead, a little bit like the Bad Batch coming later this week. So we will have a review out at the end of the series, but this is what we have until then. And it's a bit of a weird one sort of heading into it. So I'm not going to sort of go in and say as usual as I'm hyped as I always am. I think it's one of those shows where it's a very intriguing concept, and it's a very rare concept for something like this to work. It's something in which, it's a speculative piece, right? So you're with your friends and, what if, or what if this happened, whether it be plot, loopholes, anything like that, any film, any franchise, any era, the conversation with the what if is always something I found very interesting. And we did a discussion last year on Star Wars Should Love to See, and I put like a Star Wars what if, because when Marvel announced this, I was a bit curious. I think I want to say that more than anything, that is this going to be a show which will have my attention, and am I going to get involved with it? And I'd say it was, because they obviously announced the voice cast, which had so many of the actors and actresses, which meant that, this isn't some tacky side piece thing. This is something where they're going all out. This is MCU. This is all a part of it. And I want to really quickly mention that going into this, I was kind of optimistic but intrigued that they're essentially telling different stories for every episode, so I don't need to be attached to each episode individually because it's going to be different down the line. So it's a very intriguing concept, and I think just off the fact I've not seen anything like it before, the fact it's still set in the MCU, I think heading into it, there was something I was really intrigued by, and I'm going to really quickly bring this up as well. Obviously, when this episode does come up, if you guys have watched that, let me know your thoughts on Marvel's What If. If you have already seen it, obviously do comment, but there aren't going to be any spoilers here. I'm going to mention the 3 episodes very shortly, though, because they are worth mentioning. That being said, I really want to sort of kick off with the first one. So I'm not going to go into them individually. I'm just going to tell you the story of each one very briefly. So the first one is Captain Carter, which you would have seen in the trailers. It's got Peggy Carter with Captain America's shield, obviously in the Union Jack flag for a change. The second episode is essentially T'Challa as Star-Lord. Chadwick Boseman's back for that and is absolutely superb. I think that's the best episode of the 3. And the third one, I'm just going to call it an alternate assembling of the Avengers. Leave that for what you will. Of course, these are going to air weekly. That's all I'm going to say on the 3 of them. But getting 3 completely different episodes, I think, was the best thing to do. That maybe you'll get 2-parters. Maybe at some point in season 2 or towards the end, they might revisit the storyline. But it's not you must watch all 3 in a row and continue watching them. It felt like an anthology series, which is really cool to see. And again, the fact it's on Disney Plus, the fact that they're putting that money into this, and the animation style, I think, is really unique as well. That I think, as far as I'm a Spider-Man into the multiverse, is very much Spider-Verse, sorry, is an incredible film. The animation style was new, but felt original. It felt like a comic book strip being animated. And I'm glad they didn't copy it with this. It would have been so easy to copy it. But there's a unique animation style where obviously it's kind of 2D animation, but it looks like comic book panels. But it's not trying to copy Spider-Verse, which was something I was actually quite worried about. It feels unique by itself. There's some really good cinematography in it as well, and I absolutely love it. But the actual animation, I think, is so well done. It looks incredible, obviously, as a lot of animation does in this day and age with this sort of the technology that we now have. But I think what coincides with the animation being great and authentic is the fact that the voice cast for this, so many of them are the counterparts that we have in the film. Sam Jackson is in a lot of these episodes, and it'd be weird if somebody else voiced him when it looks like Nick Fury, when it's meant to look like exactly like him. Whereas you get some, obviously, we know that Robert Downey Jr. wouldn't come back. We knew Scarlett Johansson would be in it, so it's a bit eerie when you get their different voice actors interfering with the real voice actors. So you get a bit of juxtaposition. I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all. I'm saying the fact they're able to get so many of this cast for something that's such a small project as well, that this isn't an endearing, you must record, 3 months a year. This is probably something they can sit down for a day and do their lines however many years ago. Obviously, I mentioned Chadwick Boseman, his episode, he was the best thing in it. And it's quite comforting hearing his voice, and at the same time, obviously, it's very sort of tragic with everything that happened. And there's a lovely tribute in the episodes to Chadwick as well, and I think it was the strongest one, certainly off what they're doing with the story and the concept again of a what if. I think it's really important. But the really big voice acting, which works for this, which I need to mention, is Jeffrey Wright. Obviously, we're going through the Bond retrospective at the moment, and we'll be getting to him in Casino Royale. But he is somebody that is an incredible character actor that is not underused, but I think he's slowly starting to get the respect he deserves, and he is voicing the Watcher in this, which is a really cool thing. So, if you're not familiar with the character of the Watcher, it's essentially the narrator's purpose for us, which is a really good way for them to approach the series. And I really enjoy him in this. I think he sounds absolutely terrific as the narrator, and I feel like he does work as the Watcher as well at the same time. So getting Jeffrey Wright was superb, and being able to have so many of those voice casts as well coming back in is definitely worth mentioning. And I think, again, the fact that Marvel went at this saying we want to get everyone, as many as we can, to come in and do these, and I think that makes all the difference between a show that is a part of this world and one that is just a quick sort of spin-off on the side that, we're not going to care about this, i.e. a lot of sort of previous MCU things up until the last 2 years, I'd say. So I definitely want to recommend that. The animation coinciding with the voice cast is incredible, but I'm going to kind of bring up, it's not necessarily a criticism, but, again, this is a spoiler-free review, so my biggest concern is that I'm not hooked on the show. And that's a really interesting dynamic because, as I said, it's an anthology show. Every episode is different. But I haven't come out of this saying I need to see episode 4 as early as possible before it all ends up on Twitter, as they always do. And that's something where I'm trying to figure out if I'm being too harsh on the show, or if the show itself is more catered to this way, that because it's not continuity, it's not one enclosed season, I've not got the desire to come back. I know I will be watching. I will probably watch it weekly, but it will very much be something that fits in as and when. And for all we know, in episodes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, it might start upping the stakes. It might end up being a must-watch show for myself. So that's something I've really wanted to bring up because I'm not hooked, but I am very much enjoying it. And as far as recommendation goes, absolutely recommend this show for fans of Marvel. If you're into the MCU, there's probably no selling at this point. If you're a bit curious, I'd certainly say wait to episode 2. I think episode 1 was the weakest of the 3. I'm not saying it's bad by any means, but it didn't feel as imaginative or as interesting as the other ones that we had. It didn't have me attached to the screen at every moment. And obviously, with being Captain Carter, it's a character that we love, and it's a very different take on the Captain America stuff. So it's got a good setup, but it sort of slowly just gets as predictable as it's going to be. That is my one complaint, was that episode. But aside from that, it's a very interesting show. As I said, I'm going to stick around with it. But, as we came out of Loki, we need to find out what's happening. We need to keep seeing what's watching. The same with WandaVision. Falcon, not as good, but still, I want to carry on. I've not had it with this show, and I'm hoping that it does deliver because it's very well made. I can't fault its production values. I can't fault the animation style. And the fact it's something so creative, and it sort of goes back, giving a sort of a hand to Marvel that they've had this empire now for so long that, what can they do? Well, we've got the multiverse with Loki, which is set up. And now we can have a show, which is literally a question, what if, but we can set it in a multiverse. And it's a really cool way of doing it because, as I said, a what if is a concept that's mainly shared by people at home or fan fiction, that kind of thing. And the fact that the producers, the people that make the films, are also in enough to be like, I would also be curious to see how this would happen. I think it's a really cool piece of, not filmmaking because it's TV, but if you know what I mean. That being said, I'm going to kind of cap this off once again saying that, as a final recommendation, do watch this show. Not in a rush to watch it if there are other shows to watch. Certainly, Bad Batch is finishing this week, and that's why I definitely do recommend completely different franchises, of course. But this is one where I'm very excited to see what comes next. And I'm excited for the big review. As we said, me and Chris will be doing a joint review at the end of the series, maybe other people on. We'll probably pick each storyline, go through each one and our thoughts. It'll be a really interesting discussion, but this isn't going to be a show that we do cover weekly. And aside from that, as we say with Marvel, so many Marvel shows we have done weekly. This is one where we do think at the end of it is the better way to do it. It's the exact same thing for Bad Batch. And when we get to Hawkeye at the end of the year, we'll probably give an update on that because we also don't know what our plan is going to be for Hawkeye. So I'm going to leave that there. As it's been very positive, but I've not come on here churning the usual Marvel hype. It's good, but it's kind of what I expected from an animated Marvel show that's not set within the current MCU. But having said that, I'm also going to talk about a couple of other things. If Marvel's not going away anytime soon, Shang-Chi is coming out at the start of September. And we're still waiting for a trailer for Spider-Man, which will be December, and of course, the Eternals in November. So a lot more Marvel things are coming. This is the last Marvel video of the year. Of course, we did the Infinity Saga retrospective in lockdown at the start of the year. So if you're new with Marvel, if you check us out, have a look at that, some of our videos. That was really good fun. That went on for a couple of months. And also, if you're into other films, we are still carrying our James Bond retrospective. GoldenEye is coming by the time this goes up tonight. That will be on the channel. That's going to be live. Myself, Chris, and of course, Spy has joined us for that as we continue our weekly James Bond reviews. I'm very much looking forward to that. And we've got a couple of other new releases coming at some point in the next few weeks, Minamata being one of them. So do stick around with this for that. I'm going to quickly bring up the socials of where you can find us. Facebook, Cinema Savvy, Twitter at cinema_savvy, letterboxd.com/cinema savvy. Do check us out on there. We announced some of our videos. And if you're also into comic book films, we did go live a couple of days ago for our spoiler discussion on the Suicide Squad, which I really recommend. So if you're into your Marvel stuff, if you like James Gunn, definitely have a check out of that one. But aside from that, I want to thank everybody for watching tonight. It's been a bit of a different review, not as hard as others to do spoiler-free, but also at the same time, I don't want to give anything away so you can experience it in full properly next week. So I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll be sure to see you on the next one.